Hello there. Getting your reading done. I went ahead and invited your guides into this space so that they could deliver any messages that they felt you needed. So, without further ado, here we go. Jeez, okay. Okay, so from the beginning, it looks like there is something that is tempting you that is not in your best interest. Now, whether that be business-wise, relationship-wise, food-wise, I'm not sure yet. But they're saying that you need to be very aware of this situation and look into your heart to determine whether this is something that will actually be beneficial for you or whether it's going to hurt you in the long run. Timing is critical on this too. It's not something that you should drag out. It's not something that you should take a long time to decide. It would be better to cut it out sooner rather than later, lest it begin to fester. They do give me the love and light card though with this, so they're saying that this doesn't have to be a dark process. You don't have to. Oftentimes when we realize that somebody did not have the best intent in mind, it can make us bitter, and it can make the breaking of ties a kind of messy situation. And so they're saying that when you do come to the realization of what tie you need to break, make sure that you do it with love and an understanding, because sometimes people don't know what they do. They don't truly understand their intentions. They don't truly understand, ignorance is bliss sometimes, and unfortunately, it can affect others. So, they said to not dally on that. Just because the longer you wait, the more you have to deal with, essentially, from it. Yeah, okay. So we just got the swiftness card again, so this is definitely something you need to cut out, like, ASAP. Death in reverse and the Queen of Swords. Hang on, I want to get one more card with this. Love it. Interesting. So we got the Queen of Swords, we've got the Virtue card, and we've got the Death and Swiftness. So, Death is in reverse. And so that tells me that this is a tough process for you to break. It's kind of been like a repeating cycle that you've been going through for a while, and it's really hard for you to want to break it because you have this ideal, you have this perfect, beautiful vision of what you want things to be. You have that in your head, which is nice, and it's really awesome to have goals and aspirations, but I think this is what's holding you back. I think that this idea of how things should be and thinking that you can force things to be a certain way is not helping you. And it sucks because it feels like you do it with the best of intentions, and it feels like you really you don't set out to be hurtful with it, but inevitably having this rigid idea of what you want things to be like is keeping you from advancing further in all aspects of your life. Your relationship with others, your relationship with yourself, it's making things really difficult for you to kind of have the emotional stability that you want. Which is interesting, because I know you mentioned, some chaos in your emotional aspects as well, so I'm curious. We'll ask the cards. Deep dive. They want a very specific card, apparently. Really, guys? Okay. We got the Badger, and we've got this. Okay, yeah. So, Deep Dive card over here tells me that you definitely need to take a look into your emotional state, and you need to take a look into why do I do the things that I do. And having a lot more quiet time to reflect on that question, why do I do this? Why do I do XYZ? That's really going to help bring a lot of clarity to you, because in asking yourself this question, you're going to take the observer position. So instead of having an emotional connection to your actions, you're going to have an observational standpoint where you're going to be able to say, oh, okay, that makes sense why I do that, because blah, 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 blah. And it's going to help you be able to change this trajectory that you're on so much easier, because you're not going to have any emotional attachment to it. You're simply just going to observe it, see it for what it is, understand what it is, and work with it in a new way. Part of doing this, though, is you're going to have to let go of some fear. Because as a society, I know that when it comes to accessing and expressing emotions, all of the men in our communities have always been at a disadvantage. It's just been a generational thing. Men don't show emotion. We're supposed to be the hard workers. We're supposed to be the providers. And that's toxic. That is extremely toxic, because you're human and you have human emotions, and that's a big part of your existence on this planet, is to express and to have and to honor your emotions. So as you go into this, there's going to be moments where you're going to be scared, because you're going to feel like you shouldn't be having these feelings, or you shouldn't be expressing these feelings, and they need you to be able to let go of that. They need you to be able to have the fear but express the emotion anyway. Vulnerability is at the center point of all of this. And with that vulnerability comes watching the way that you interact with people as you go through this. So, anger, frustration, shame, these are all emotions that are based in something else. They're not emotions that just come up on their own. They usually have to do with something that happened to us that imprinted a core memory. And a lot of times when you're working through these emotional states, and when you're doing this deep dive, and when you're facing these fears, a lot of times our anger can come up because anger is a protector. Anger, frustration, it is all a protective source, because if you're angry, you're automatically putting up a wall. So you're making it to where nobody can help you, because nobody, when somebody's mad at you, it's difficult to want to be around them, because you're like, oh, well, they're mad at me, they don't want me around, so you want to leave. And that's exactly what anger does for us individually. It makes us closed off. It makes it to where we don't get that help that we need. So as you're going through this, be open to people coming in and helping you. And even though it's scary, and even though it might be terrifying to be vulnerable, because especially if there's people in your life who are not going to be gentle with you when you're vulnerable, which there might very well be some people who might not be gentle with you, and that's not a reflection of you, that is entirely a reflection of them. But all of that is to say, don't be scared, and if you feel your defense cropping in, let it go, because there's nothing more detrimental to emotional healing than covering it up with anger or frustration or shame. All of those things are going to just lock the lid on any sort of progress that you would hope to make on an emotional standpoint. They said you're safe. They said even if you don't feel it, you are safe. And even if there's somebody who doesn't make you feel safe, that person is far and few between. There are far more many people in your life that make you feel safe than there are that would make you feel shame for the ways that you want to be and the ways that you want to explore. We got more water. More water. Definitely really, really emotions. Emotions. You need to really start asking yourself why. Why am I the way that I am? Why do I feel the way that I feel? Why do I think the way that I think? Because I think a lot of times you're going to find that there's no real rhyme or reason. You're just like, well, I've just always thought this way. And that's the key that unlocks the door, essentially. So, wow, we got battle cards here. So we've got the Lord and we've got the Shield Maiden, which tells me that, you know, this is going to be a fight. This isn't going to be something that's going to come to you. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You're going to have to do some work towards this, and you're going to have to be open to experiences that might make you uncomfortable. You're going to have to be open to doing some things that you never thought that you would do, such as meditating. We got the Hermit card here, and the Hermit card, whenever it comes out, always is the meditate card. If you can find some way to meditate, it is absolutely going to help you dig deep into the emotions and to figure out these questions that you're asking yourself on a subconscious level. Now, meditation does not have to be sitting crisscross on the floor, doing the little thing with your hands and chanting. That's one way out of millions of ways to meditate. When I first started meditating, a way that was really easy for me was when I was going to bed, I would count. Because that's the only way I could get my brain to focus. Otherwise, it was just like, squirrel, off in left field. Totally forgot what I was doing until I fell asleep. And so I would begin counting, and I would count 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I found at some point that my mind was chitter-chattering, I would be like, oh, nope, we're supposed to be counting. And I would bring myself back, and I would start at 1. And that was a really fun way to do it because I could actively see my progress. So the first night, I could only make it to like 30, 40 before I would get sidetracked and then I'd have to start over. But as I continued to do it, I was seeing numbers like 100, 200, 300 before I would finally fall asleep. So it's a really good, quick way to consistently start practicing with this. And then once you kind of get the feeling of what that's about, you'll be able to start moving towards more expanded time periods of it. Like cleaning your car, cleaning your car in silence and just giving your mind that opportunity to have that silence is a way of meditating. Ultimately, what you're doing when you're meditating is you are observing. You're observing your thoughts. You're observing the world. You're observing. You are not attaching any emotions. You're not attaching any thought. You are becoming the part of us that simply wants to see what happens. Another water card. Have I mentioned that maybe your emotions might be the key to all of this? Because, that's like the third one. All in a row there. And wisdom. Yep, and then we got the Moon card, which the Moon card is yet another tap into those emotions that are on the subconscious level. You got a lot of deep diving to do. But it's not going to be in vain. There's a lot of knowledge that you have that you don't even know that you have. Like, it's buried in there. And as soon as you start to peel away these layers of ideas and ideals that are not useful to you, as you peel those away, you're going to find that there's so much in there that you didn't even realize was in there because it's just been covered up this whole time. They wanted me to focus on this Hermit card here. It's really important to take some more time for yourself and to make some more time to be able to just watch. Watch yourself, watch nature. They always recommend nature. I mean, if you like to go on walks, just walking by yourself is a really good way also to do meditation. No headphones or anything like that. Just you walking quietly and observing. King of Cups. Okay. Yet another emotion card. And then we've got the Eight of Swords in reverse here. So, oh, Lord. We've got the Page of Wands on the bottom. So, yeah. Emotions. You really got to get a deep dive into those emotions because the Eight of Swords is in reverse here. And so that is literally the key to you undoing all this binding that you have. All of these barriers, all of these blocks, all of these things that are keeping you from the level of happiness that you wish to truly achieve is all based in you getting in touch with acknowledging and understanding your emotional reaction to things. And like I said, it's going to be a challenge because it's not something that's going to come to you intuitively. It's something that you are going to have to work at, especially because it seems like there's been a lot gone towards you not accessing that, so to speak, keeping it suppressed, keeping it down, saying it doesn't matter. I got the Eight of Pentacles here. You're going to be proud of this work. You're going to be so proud of yourself, and your guides, like, they can see the timeline where you do this work, and they are also extremely proud of you. Because this work is literally, you might not think it, but it's going to change your life. It is absolutely going to change your life 100%. Because, unfortunately, the only thing that we can control is ourselves. That's it. We can't control other people. We can't control how other people see us. We can't control how other people see themselves. It's just not something you could do. So all you can do is control yourself. And our minds and our brains are beautiful, beautiful things. They have so much to offer us. But a lot of times we let our brain, we let those thought processes rule the roost. And we forget about our heart self. And we forget about our soul self. And we forget about the emotional, creative being that lives inside of us who's supposed to be calling the shots. The mind is supposed to be a servant. The intellectual mind was given to us with our body, and it is survival-based. And so it's going to make survival-based decisions. You know, if you have a situation where you're going to have to choose between something that's kind of risky but has a lot of reward, or sticking with the safe thing because, well, it's safe, your mind is going to tell you 100% of the time to stick with the safe thing because your mind, your brain, is the survival mechanism. And it's always going to choose safety. But being safe is not always living. And so in order to truly come to this level of happiness and this level of living and thriving that you aspire to get to, sometimes you got to do the risky thing. And doing the risky thing sometimes involves telling your brain to shut up. Quite frankly. Sometimes you just got to shh. Because you can 100% talk yourself out of doing the things that are good for you in the name of perseverance. Or not perseverance, preservation. Perseverance is what you need to do to get out of that. Okay, I always do a little book divination with this too, so I went ahead and I just flipped to the page that they asked me to flip to, and then I read the little snippet that they asked me to read. So for you, I've got meditating in a no Wi-Fi zone, which they said the word nature in my mind as I read the title. Has technology taken over your life, and do you think yourself as a deeply intuitive person who feels the effect of our sixth sense? Yet you scroll on your smartphone more often than necessary. Oh my gosh, we literally just talked about this. Take time to recalibrate your inner sanctuary and become deeply aware of the manner in which technology impacts your physical health and your emotional wellness. In these times of 24/7 digital engagement, strengthen your practice by pulling back regularly from the influence of invisible pollution. Take breaks from devices and experiment with meditating in a no Wi-Fi zone. So, bringing that back, they wanted me to really reiterate the whole if you can get outside more to do your meditations, if you can go on a walk, if you like to fish, if you like to hike. I know you said you liked golfing. That would be a really good one. You could get outside. You could go for golf, preferably by yourself, just so that you can focus more on observation and being in that meditative state. Going with buddies is fun, and it's definitely something that you should do. But also take time to make space for you to do things by yourself, because only when you are alone can you truly begin to know who you are at your deepest cosmic level. Last thing that I like to do for us is I do a little numerology roll. So I roll these dice and then I encourage you to go Google it, because I think it's a great opportunity for you to get in touch with your own intuition and to get a personal message from your guides without somebody in between. So the number that they gave for you was 207. Now you can go to Google and you can look this up as angel number 207, spiritual number 207, numerology number 207. Whichever one of those stuck out to you the most, you just type that in, and then you're going to get all of your links, and then you go find the link that calls to you the most. Click on that, read through that. That is your personal message direct from your guides, and it's something that they want you to hear. That's what I have. Don't be scared. Or do be scared and do it anyway. Sometimes life is about being scared and doing it anyway. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm always here.